Well, thank you everybody for joining the class this evening. My name is Randy. I've been teaching this class now for almost a year. Believe it or not, it's kind of crazy, but there's some iterations on this that have definitely been updated since the first time I took over it. My background is I've been recruiting now for almost 23 years. So when I started, there wasn't LinkedIn. There was certainly not Levels. I think monster.com might have just been coming out. So definitely worked in a variety of spaces as well. Everything from government contracting to smaller startup organizations to autonomous vehicles, gaming, and crypto. So I've seen a lot, experienced a lot. Not saying I have all the answers, but first and foremost, this is the fun part of what we do, right? This is the place where you've put in the work, you've put in the time, you've gone through the curriculum here at IK to go through go through all the interviews. You've done the prep work, you've done the mock interviews, whatever the case might be. So this is the fun piece, right? This is where we get to talk about the things that matter. Team, role, scope, level, and of course, compensation, right? Let's be honest. So let's get this started. When we think about preparing for offers and we're getting through the stages, we've gotten through all of our on-sites, maybe we've gone through team matching and so forth, this is the end result. So this is where we're trying to get to. When you think about offers and kind of the progress of offers have made over the last several years, some of the information, like I said, here's a little bit dated, but in 2019, because 2020 kind of threw obviously a wrench into everything and it became a whole new workspace, workforce, remote work first, everything else with the pandemic. What do you think just the average pay bump for a technical role across, all levels, right, was in 2019? Give me an idea of what percentage you think the increase was when switching from one job to another back in 2019.
Around 10 to 12%.
15 to 20, I would say.
Yep. I see 30 to 40 and 30 in here.
Yeah, 30 to 40.
Yep. You ready for this one? 1.8%.
Wow.
Keep in mind the time frame, right? 2020 the pandemic opened up our eyes to a lot of things, right? And the workforce became that much more valuable. People were then looking at offers that allowed them to have more flex time, more time with family, more work-life balance, and so forth. So granted, these numbers are dated. I know that the team here at IK is working on looking at what the numbers were kind of in 2021 when there was somewhat potential quote unquote normalcy, if you want to call it that. But I will also tell you during that same time frame, folks that were part of the interview Kickstart program, average bump was 49% in 2019. I will say now it's probably higher. I don't have the specific data pieces. These are things that the operations team is collecting so that we can update this a little bit, but it's just interesting to say, wow, basically almost a 47% difference, right? And if you were just to go through the normal process yourself, no prep work, no coaching, nothing. And that's so 49%, big difference. How do we know this? We've done well over 5,000 offers. The coaches here have worked with you, whether it's on the technical side, like I said, the mock interviews, and even working through the side of, hey, you've got a couple offers in play. How do we negotiate against the one you want, right? That's what we're here to help you with. This was the highest date offer to date that was negotiated back in June of 2021. I can personally tell you that is not the highest offer now that we have helped negotiate. Does anybody want to take a guess at what the highest offer is that we've helped negotiate?
1.2.
Good guess. Anybody else?
1.1.
1.1, good guess. Highest offer to date, 1.267 million. Year over year cash, not including sign-on. That's year over year. I know recently we've had one that's been 1.2. That was actually somebody that I worked with this past week. By the way, if anybody wants to know, I own the record at 1.267. It was one of the students that I worked with. And then another one I just did recently was 1.1, basically. It's just slightly under 1.1. M2 Facebook / Meta was the role. and it was somebody in New York. The other 1.2 recently was L8/director at Amazon with the new comp structure that they just announced. Obviously, when you think about companies like Amazon completely changing their comp philosophy in order to keep talent or attract talent, it becomes something that allows you to help negotiate stronger because you know they've changed things. The role was a EM, so it was like a senior manager. It was an M2, like Mary 2, M2, not a D1, but M2. Candidate was actually based in New York. And I'll pull up some of the information so we can share how we kind of negotiate that as we go through this as well.
Hey, Randy, this is Harry. A quick question.
Yes.
What's
Go for
the initial offer before the negotiation?
$880,000.
Wow, that's a very big bump.
The jump from 8.8 to 1.2.
He went from 880 to 1.267.
Great. Can't wait to hear more details for the process.
And it really was, it's a little bit of following a lot of the process that's here that we're going to discuss, but also, there's a lot of factors that come into play. A lot of it's knowing certain things that we will discuss, but I think it's exciting. Granted, right, this is an individual that's at M2, right? That's a senior manager level at Meta, but I've also seen offers where we've seen, initial offers come in for like a lower level software engineer, say like an L4 or an L5. And we were able to get, an additional 100 to 150K, right? That's substantial, right? That's no difference than almost 400K on that side. $100,000 is a substantial amount of money if we can help negotiate up, right? And I think that's what this is about, kind of setting the precedence of what we're going to do and how we're going to go about this process, how we're going to create leverage and so forth. So a lot of pieces that we'll talk about tonight, and, definitely glad to share details as we go.
Quick question, Randy.
Go for it.
So when you talk about these offers, are you talking about like engineering managers, like especially like the development managers, or they are like product manager, QA manager, or what different roles, right? Yeah,
the formula works regardless across whatever role that you are or your background or your expertise or experience is in, right? There's not anything specific to like we only focus on software engineering or we only focus on engineering management or something like that. No, so the formula that really just kind of goes across all pieces. That's one of the things that I personally find that I have found that, as I've gone through and talked with several students, right, is it's one of the formulas is just simply like, hey, we're going to follow this formula. This is how we're going to create the things we need to do. And then therefore we'll be able to go forward from there, regardless of the background. Similar as even as me as being a recruiter, right? If I'm interviewing for jobs, I'm following the same process. Okay.
Cool.
So absolutely. My pleasure.
I have one question, Randy. So when we receive the call first time from the recruiter, so they would ask the salary, how much we are expecting, right?
Yep.
So, but do we reveal these, whatever the salary we expect initially, or after finishing the interviews, we negotiate?
Yep. We'll talk about that. Great question. But typically that is obviously the biggest question I get is what do we do when the recruiter asks us for our compensation expectations up front, right? So we'll definitely get there. So It's a question we will definitely be talking about quite a bit, okay? Because there's all sorts of answers, there's all sorts of ways to think about it, but we'll definitely talk about it, okay? Negotiation formula, several things here. Knowing your market value, creating leverage, skill dialogue, and what do we get? This is just a small handful of the organizations that we've helped negotiate with. Obviously, there's many more organizations out there. We also know that there are organizations now that don't really do negotiation, so we can talk a little bit about that towards the end of the session tonight as well. So, but all of these, are same type of knowing the market value, creating leverage, having a skill dialogue with your recruiters, because you hopefully will have multiple recruiters you're working with, and being able to get to the offer we want with the organization we want.